questions in chat, Andrew, you might look at there while Cathy gives her short presentation, please.
Yeah, cool.
Cathy,
Oh.
You're muted.
Can you see my screen?
Yes, now.
Presentation okay? Yeah, great. Thank you, everyone. I'm speaking from the land of the Wallamadigal in the middle of Sydney on the north side of the Parramatta River. I've been involved in this campaign probably since, early 2023, when BirdLife first sent out a call to its branch members and supporters to contact their federal MPs or senators about the need for much stronger nature laws. The call came out from a lot of other conservation groups as well, and there were a number of informative webinars, and BirdLife launched a toolkit of resources on the website, which is still available and really helpful. And we decided to participate and act and try and develop some relationships with the federal MPs that are within our geographic area, which we really hadn't done in the past. This is a challenge for us because BirdLife Southern New South Wales and ACT is very geographically large. We really had to think about, well, exactly what federal electorates do we cover, and who are our federal MPs and senators, and what's the best way to try and engage with them. So I think many of our members don't really understand who or what the branch is. The branch is large, and it's actually defined by postcodes. And Southern New South Wales is all of these postcodes on this map that are coloured orange, which you can see is a very large geographic area and quite diverse in the way it's structured and not a complete entity. To the north, those postcodes are allocated to BirdLife Northern New South Wales. On the centre to the right, we have a small area that's carved out for BirdLife Shoalhaven around the Nowra and Shoalhaven River area. Then there's a separate BirdLife Southern Tablelands centred on Bowral, carving out a number of postcodes all around that area there. And then along the Murray River, there are three essentially Victorian BirdLife branches, BirdLife Ovens and Murray, BirdLife Bendigo Echuca, and BirdLife Mildura, who actually include a lot of the postcodes in that southern area of the state. So I guess this posed a challenge to us. How do we approach the MPs that are actually within our branch? And so these are the maps of the federal electorates that were applicable to the 2022 federal election. On the left, you get the regional areas, but of course we also cover the very urban areas of Sydney, Newcastle and Illawarra, and the ACT. So overlaying that, I identified that there were 47 electorates, federal electorates, that potentially have BirdLife Southern New South Wales members and supporters, and that we should be responsible for trying to contact. So what we did was, having identified those 47 electorates, which are actually 31% of all the federal electorates in Australia, we drafted a letter using National Officers templates and contacted each of those MPs individually with an offer of a bird walk in their electorate and a request for a meeting with the MP to discuss the need for new nature laws and specifically setting out the 5 key asks that BirdLife had nominated and which Andrew touched on in his presentation. So following that initial contact, we had 8 acceptances. This is in mid to late 2023. 5 were in-office meetings and 3 were bird walks, 4 with Labor MPs, 2 with Liberal MPs and 2 with Teal Independents. And I'll let you know who they were in case they're actually electorates that you might be located in. It was Fiona Phillips in Gilmore, Allegra Spender in Wentworth, Sally Situ in Reid, Melissa McIntosh in Lindsay, Kylie Tink in North Sydney, Don Rapicoli in the Hunter, Dr. Mike Freelander in Macarthur, and Paul Fletcher in Bradfield. And in addition to that, we've also had contact with Julie and Lisa in Barara and Jerome Lixal in Bennelong. And so from really having no relationships with MPs, we felt this was quite a successful first attempt. So what we did was then approach supporters that we had located in those electorates where we had meetings or walks organised and invited them to attend and discuss local environmental issues as well as the need for stronger nature laws. And we've got some photos here of a few of us, only a few at a time. We didn't want to overwhelm the MPs with a cast of thousands, but these were just general people who are our supporters without necessarily a great knowledge of birds even, or of the legislation, but members of the electorate who were interested to meet in person their MP and just pass on their good wishes and perhaps talk about some of their own personal concerns with what was going on in their electorate. And all of the events went very well, and we received a lot of support from the MPs that we met. So I guess in conclusion, so far what I've drawn from the actions that we took in beginning to build these relationships, it is very important to have local constituents present at the meetings. And it definitely builds the relationships straight away. We worked with other groups as well, as Andrew mentioned, and Logan, in particular in Sydney ACF Wilderness Society, who are also members of Places You Love Alliance, and worked with several of the local birding groups with people who are interested in the issue. It's important to relate to local issues. And the challenges that we've had in organising meetings, and I guess passing over our messages, are that particularly ministers and MPs that National Office and the Places You Love Alliance would like us to target won't necessarily engage with the excuse, which is probably true in ministers in particular, that they're very busy, they have a lot on their plate, and finding time for a meeting is difficult. As you can see, our branch has a very large geographic area, so it's challenging for us to engage and be aware of local issues in regional areas, and to source members and supporters who are located in those regional areas who would be prepared to visit their MP. Our membership and supporters are quite unevenly located in electorates across the branch, and we're particularly lacking in South and Western Sydney and in regional New South Wales, but stronger in the Northern Sydney, in the Illawarra and in the Hunter region. So that makes it more challenging for us to engage with some MPs. And also our membership and supporters aren't necessarily representative of a lot of the cultural groups that are in many of the important electorates we'd like to engage those federal MPs in. Another challenge is that our branch has some very large urban areas within its catchment, and in a lot of those urban areas, the message about the importance of biodiversity, environment, green spaces doesn't really carry all that well, because they are so densely populated and have lost so much of their green spaces already. So it means we have to really work on our different messages for different electorates. So
Thank you,
for our
Cathy.
branch,
We'll need to be moving on.